Matt,
Yo,
we're live.
Evan,
Yeah,
how's it
we're
going?
live, brother. It's going well, man. It's Thursday night. It's 9 o'clock your time, 8 o'clock my time. We're here for episode, 29 of the
28.
InfoSec. What? I put
28.
29 on the thing, man.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're always right. You're always
Well, I mean, it's my cross to
your
bear,
gift.
I guess. I mean, somebody's got to be right. It ain't going to be you.
That's
Right?
unfortunate. Unfortunate.
All right. So we record these podcasts for the listeners. We record these podcasts live on Thursday night. For people that don't have, maybe don't have a life, I guess maybe they listen to it on Thursday night. Otherwise, you wait for the podcast to be published usually on Monday. Sometimes I forget, and it's Tuesday or something. But
Yes.
yeah, you either wait for the recording or you interact with us live here.
We'd love for you to interact live. That'd be so much fun.
It would be so much fun. We would enjoy ourselves. Can you
We
tell
always
that I
got that
showered
one
today?
guy, the angry intern. He's always cool. He likes
Yeah, and we've been getting a lot of comments and things. I mean, episode 29, the thing is we don't, it takes a while to get your shit together when you're doing a podcast, especially when you're doing it homegrown. You don't have a production team. You just sit down, talk with your friend about some security shit.
We're
Let
separated
it
by
go.
like miles and borders with like armies and things. And it's crazy.
Yeah. You're an American. I'm
Yeah.
a Mexican trapped in an American body, basically.
You're a Mexican.
Yeah, Mexican trapped in an American body, right? I mean, I look American, but deep down, I'm 100% Mexican.
You're Rastafarian? No, that's a
No,
different
dude, that's like
place.
Jamaica.
Jamaica.
That's like over that way, dude. That's not even close to where I'm at right now. All right, so last week, the episode tonight, we're gonna talk about this thing, and if you haven't heard about it, there's this guy named Mark Lanterman. I know Mark. Our circles have intersected before. We've never worked directly on projects before, but we've had, we've spoken at the same conferences before. I think we've spoken about, potential partnership between FR Secure and his company, Computer Forensic Services. We're both based out of, Minnesota. So, it's a small world, in this industry when you work on certain things.
You
So I have my
definitely
opinions
heard
about this Mark Lanterman.
way before I did.
Why? Because I know
was
him.
it like on the local news, or are you just in the know?
Mhm.
Or okay.
Yeah. So, it's on the local news. And then I was giving a talk at a CVCISO event remotely. And, you opened it up for Q&A and somebody asked me, hey, what's going on with Mark Lanterman? And I was like, I don't know what's going on with Mark Lanterman. And she told me, and so I'm like, oh shit. So then you just do some, OSINT, ran across this Sean Harrington. I'll tell you the whole story. And then, we'll share our opinions and everything. But before we do that, last week, in episode 28, we talked about the civil liberties that we've given up as U.S. citizens since 9/11. And, there's no correlation between 9/11 and last week in terms of like time, date. It's not like an anniversary or anything like that. It was just, we were having a conversation in episode 27 and civil liberties came up. And, you and I, how many civil liberties have we given up? So you did a little research, in that week. It's like, holy shit, we've given up a lot. And then Tuesday of this week, I don't know if you knew this, Tuesday this week, there was a House committee hearing. And the hearing title is A Continued Pattern of Government Surveillance of U.S. Citizens. Let me see if I can share my screen here and you can see what I'm seeing. I'm just going to share this whole window. All right. So there's the link right there. You can go to, if you just Google A Continued Pattern of Government Surveillance of U.S. Citizens.
Put in the chat for people.
But this is a really, really interesting discussion about exactly what we were talking about last week. In this case, when we really focused last week, we focused on the NSA. It's kind of their, I mean, I hate to call it abuse, but it is. I mean, you're not breaking the law, but you're not following the intent of the law by any means, right?
right? Um, they're not putting people first. They're putting
Well, they're abusing our rights, man. Fourth
fear.
Amendment.
Yeah. Yep.
Fourth Amendment. Clearly, it's about search and seizure, right? And our rights as Americans, and you don't even have to be an American. It's rights for anybody. You know, there's a lot of people out there claiming, you know, that illegal immigrants don't have constitutional rights. That's bullshit. They do have constitutional rights. They have constitutional right to due process, all this other stuff. I'm not going to open that can of worms right now, but this was a really interesting hearing, and I encourage everybody to watch it and just listen to the discussion about what the FBI does, how they use FISA. FISA is that surveillance.
Invisible court.
There's the FISA court for sure. But FISA really, you know, it got teeth, right, with the Patriot Act right after 9/11. And it's been expanded upon. It's been modified. Watch the hearing. It's really cool. When you get a chance to do that, we'll revisit this just briefly in episode 30, because I'd love to hear what you think. I have my own thoughts about this, but it's well worth. When you watch the video, it starts about, you know, you get, like most Senate or House hearings, the first like 20 minutes is just this title screen. And then they do their, you know, Pledge of Allegiance, and then they start. This one starts at about 20 minutes. So 20 minutes in, you'll be able to watch it. This is, you know, you could also go right to the YouTube page if you wanted to.
I got it pulled up and saved for later.
Yeah, it's hella cool. Anyway, I wanted to share that before we jumped into the Mark Lanterman thing.
I'll definitely. I mean, I think it's cool that it's being talked about. I'll have to keep my thoughts to myself, but it seems like every time it comes up, it just gets reburied. So I'm interested.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the sad thing, man. I mean, Americans, I don't know if it almost seems like we pride ourselves on ignorance. You know, it's like, yeah. First of all, most people probably didn't know that hearing took place. Secondly, even if I tell you that the hearing took place, you're probably not going to take the time out of your day to listen to it for an hour and 20, 30 minutes to find out what's really going on with you, with your life, with your neighbor, your neighbor's life, with all of us.
We're so caught up in the things and the doings and the Twitters and the things, and we're not
right.
Yeah, we're distracted by everything, and we just keep adding more distractions.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm guilty.
Well, and the reason why, if people actually woke up and took some time out of their day to find out what's really going on, because we mentioned in the last episode too, like, how do you change this stuff? The only way you can change it is to make it an election issue. Because from the perspective of, you know, your Congress people, they don't give a shit about serving your best interest. They want to get reelected. Mm-hmm. So if you make it an election issue, you know, there's a chance. Will it happen? I don't know. But at least, you know, you and I can sleep well at night, you know, preaching what we preach, right?
Yeah, we care.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, caring is good, maybe. All right. So what else? All right. You got anything else to add about last episode when we talked about the NSA stuff?
I mean, so like, it was interesting that happened, but I also thought it was interesting waking up the next morning and the NSA director was fired.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Like, it makes you wonder, like, if we were kind of ignorant until we decided to do a show on it.
Like, and is then now the universe telling us to talk about things at a certain time? Like, is it all part of a thing?
I think there's some psychology to the fact that when you make yourself aware of something, like, you start to notice the other things around it. You know what I mean? I think it's probably always been happening, but the fact that we talked about it, it's like, it piques your interest. Mm-hmm. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. We should have a psychologist come on here. Well, maybe not. Because if we had a psychologist, do you think they'd, you know, psychoanalyze us or something?
Nah.
No?
I mean,
they might. I don't need that.
I think they're good at, like, let's just say they do. I think they're good at doing it and not saying something unless you ask.
Yeah, sneaky.
Yeah.
Really
I don't know.
sneaky.
Be cool.
All right.
See if I can get my therapist.
The rapist. All right. Episode 29, Lessons from Lanterman. That's the title of this episode. The Danger of Blind Trust. I'm going to start with 2 questions for you, Matt. You get to answer however you want to answer. Number 1, have you ever lied?
Yes, I have lied.
What the hell? What the fuck's wrong with you? What do you mean you lied? When did you lie?
Uh, I mean, if we go back to the early days, like
No, I want to know a
stole
lie that you told like this week.
a lie I told this week.
Yeah,
I don't think I told one this week.
you did. Come on.
I mean, I lie to myself a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you got lies of commission. I always say this, I remind people all the time, and I do it not.
And I
just,
never remember. You're like, you always know these and you say it, but I can never remember. So I appreciate you always doing it.
Well, thanks, man. Well, and I do it not because I'm better than anybody else or anything. I do it because it's a reminder to myself. The more you say it, because nobody wants to be a hypocrite, right? So if you keep preaching it and you put it out in the public, and then people are like, well, what about that one thing you did, Evan? That was a lie of omission. Bingo, it was, right? I mean, I think when you're going to be, because we all do lie. I mean, I lie, man. I mean, I do my best. I don't want to lie, but there are times when, I don't say something I should have said. So 2 types of lies. You get the lies of commission. That's a lie that I tell you that's just flat out wrong. I tell you something false. There's lots of motivations for doing that. I mean, I want to take advantage of you. I want the job. I want to look cooler than I am. I don't want to admit that maybe I'm not as cool as I thought I was. I mean, who knows, right? There's lots of reasons why people do the lies of commission. The other one is the lie of omission. That's when I don't tell you something that I should have told you. Now, there's the ones that you just didn't know. A true lie of omission is you knew you were supposed to tell, but you didn't. Like, wives are perfect. I mean, me with my wife, it's perfect, right? So, I did this thing and I probably should have told my wife I did this thing, but I didn't tell her because whatever, I didn't want to deal with the consequences. That's a lie of omission. And the reason why I start off that question, have you ever lied, is because that's what we're talking about tonight. We're going to talk about Mark Lanterman. We're going to talk about, we're going to share our opinions. We're not insiders on this. I wasn't there when he was saying what he was saying. I can show you court testimony of the things that he said that I think are false. There's different motivations. Anyway, there's always 2 sides to the story. So number 1, have you ever lied? Number 2, Matt, are you a lawyer?
I am not a lawyer.
You're not a lawyer.
Nope.
Okay. Do you know why I'm asking that?
Are you a lawyer?
No, I ain't a lawyer. I would never. Fuck no. I don't ever want to be a lawyer.
You asked that question because we're not giving any sort of legal advice.
Bingo. You nailed it.
Yeah.
It's really important. And this is important for us as security people to stay in our lane, right? It's actually illegal for me to portray myself as a lawyer and give you legal advice. I could go to jail for that. So it's really important that it's going to sound like I know what I'm talking about. At times it's just opinion. It's never illegal to share your opinion on things, but you do need to qualify. And that's why I'm saying it now. You need to qualify that I am not a lawyer. I am not qualified to give you or anybody any legal advice, but I will share my opinion about legal stuff and legal, I guess, advice, right? It's a fine line, but everybody's entitled to a damn opinion, man. Mm-hmm. Now, the thing about opinions that I think is really interesting is people that can't defend their opinion with logic, typically, do one of 2 things, right? They either change the subject. So what we were arguing about, now we're arguing about something different. And that's a very they're sneaky when they do that. And the second one is you attack my character. So when you are sharing your opinion with your friends, spouse, coworkers, I like when people share their opinion. I value people's opinions because it's perspective. Perspective provides context. The best decisions you'll ever make come from context.
Could change my opinion. Maybe I'm fucked up.
Yeah, me too, man. I mean, I'm navigating the same damn world you are, just from a different angle.
That's always the hard thing to put into perspective is, you have elders, friends, or like bosses or people.
Did you just call me old, man?
No, I'm just talking about different things.
But when you were saying elder, though, were you thinking about me?
No, I'm thinking about you as a mentor, like,
But an old mentor, right?
No, I mean your beard doesn't help, but
Is it because I'm fat?
No, you can't tell if you're fat. You might have lost weight. I don't know.
No, I didn't lose weight.
But so like, there's always this thought that like these people above you or in certain roles like know more than you. But to your point, everybody's navigating the same thing, and we're all just at different points in time in our navigation.
Yeah, I think the best. Yeah, I mean, we talk about like honesty. The best person, to be honest with is yourself. Spend time reflecting. I think I know what I'm good at, and I think I know what I'm not good at. You got to be open, to your own limitations. I think a lot, especially in this industry, right? How many times do we see security people just being driven by their ego and their fear of not knowing something? Right? I've shared that, one of the most painful, there's lots of, that's how you get wisdom too, by the way. You get wisdom through experience with pain. Just experience isn't wisdom. It's the painful experience that brings wisdom. Or you can listen and accept somebody else's wisdom. The old people like me that Matt was referring to earlier. I'm the old guy. Yeah. So, all right. So that wisdom shit. And that painful one that I always think about whenever people think about wisdom is the time when I was at that damn board meeting, and the CEO asks me as I'm delivering an information security risk assessment. This is very, very early days on FR Secure. And he asked me in front of everybody, the whole board, Evan, is this going to make us any money? I'm like, I don't know. Is that what I was supposed to tell you? I just thought I was here to give you but it was so insightful to what they're thinking,
right?
What business people are thinking. The language of business is money. The language of business isn't security. So I need to be prepared the next time so I don't feel so damn uncomfortable with an answer, to that question. Will it make us more money? And I've given, advice on that before. All right. Anyway, let's get to the Lanterman shit. I'm going to share my screen again just to show you kind of where we're starting. So we're starting with this blog post. So I published this earlier today, whipped it up as fast as I could because I realized that I hadn't planned for today's episode, which is probably a reason why we don't have as many listeners as we could if I had my shit together.
We want it to be.
It's how you get it. So lessons from Lanterman, the danger of blind trust. Little thing. Do you ever wonder where I get these like cartoons?
You told me that there's some AI that you like for that, right?
Yeah, I really like it. And they're not paying us for me to mention their name, but it's ideogram.ai. I love it, man. I create so many. You basically just type in what scene you want and what you want, whatever. And it gives you like 4 things that it creates, and you can pick the one you want. You can modify it. It's pretty inexpensive, and it creates, cool graphics like that. So I'd been talking since the Lanterman thing sort of broke. So it was brought up in that CVCISO meeting, and then I went and did some research. I saw that it was announced on the news. It was on all the local news channels in Minnesota. And the reason why is because Mark Lanterman is a forensics expert. He's been referenced and is very well known in the legal community because he's been on a lot of cases. He's done a lot of talks. A lot of his, as far as I know, I haven't seen the results of his work, but I think he's a solid practitioner. You know, from what I can tell, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt on that stuff. So it was a big deal when his credentials were called into question. And
Wisconsin leading the way, by the way.
Yeah, fuck you in Wisconsin. But the credentials are huge, man. For us, I've preached this a million times too, man. 3 things you have to have if you want to be good at this. You have to have trust, credibility, and likability. You know, be honest with yourself. Where are you at with those things with the people that you're working with? Are you trustworthy? Well, have you fucking lied? You know, if you've lied, that's probably going to hurt trust. Credibility. Am I actually who I say I am? Can I do what I actually say I can do? Can I back it up? Am I credible? When I give you my advice, is it coming from somebody who actually knows what they're saying, or is it just bullshit? And likability. That's the one I struggle with probably the most. You know, because I like to tell the truth and people don't like to hear the truth.
People don't like blunt.
Yeah. But the older I get, the more I realize I care less about what people think about me. All right. So anyway, we'll get more into the Lanterman thing. Here's the blog post. So I'd gone through and I did some research. I had come across, you know, Sean Harrington. Sean Harrington's an attorney. He's also involved with forensics. He's out of Wisconsin. He's not legally licensed to practice law in the state of Minnesota, but that's not really relevant. But he's been way up not Brian Krebs. He's been way up Mark Lanterman's ass for a year or more, 2 maybe, for whatever reason. Right. So, and we'll get into that some more too, but that's what kind of spurred a lot of this stuff on. So Mark did a whole bunch of work. Mark Lanterman did a whole bunch of work for Hennepin County. Hennepin County is the largest county in the state of Minnesota. So the Hennepin County Attorney's Office issued a press release that they're no longer going to be using Mark Lanterman as an expert forensic witness, and gave a reason why. Because his credentials are being called into question. That then led to, subsequently an FBI investigation. So now the FBI is involved. Now the FBI the FBI is involved in criminal matters. So that should tell you something. So we're going from civil stuff and just reputational things to now when you get law enforcement, like the FBI involved, now you're talking criminal, maybe.
It's like leveled up.
It's leveled up for sure. And then, we talked about it a little bit and we said, well, we're going to do this podcast, episode 29. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about this Mark Lanterman guy and what we know. And then somebody sends me a message. One of my friends sends me a message of Brian Krebs, something that he's written about the same thing, right? So now you've elevated it. Before it was just a local story. This is a local Minneapolis one. And yeah, yeah. So this is Krebs's post. Krebs says, cyber forensic expert in 2,000 plus cases faces FBI probe. I don't like Brian Krebs personally. He and I go back. He probably doesn't even remember who I am, but I used to write this thing called the Breach blog back in 2004, 2005. And so I would write about breaches because it was back then you didn't have breaches like all the damn time. You would get a breach letter, you'd read it, and what I would do on the breach blog is I would break down the breach and then tell people things in the letter that are bullshit. Just because it said that the laptop was password protected. Let me tell you what that really means. Right. It's not encrypted, so I was doing that while Brian Krebs back then was working, I think, with the Washington Post or I don't know, some news organization. I don't know if he was fired or if he left, but he went from there to here. So he and I would exchange notes on breaches way back then. The one thing I do know about Brian Krebs is he's a damn good investigator. In my opinion, he's kind of a head case and a snake, but he knows what the hell he's doing. He's damn good at investigations. So what he usually writes is pretty, it's usually pretty solid. So, as you read this, and this is, a great article to read more about Mark Lanterman. This is, his LinkedIn post. It goes on about, his background. It's definitely, a good read. So that's what brings us kind of to here, to talk about Mark Lanterman, to talk about what I think he did, why I think he's sticking with his story, and, what the consequences I think are going to be for him. So, Matt, did you do any research on Mark Lanterman since we talked about it?
I did. I watched, there was a news article I found or a news broadcast from Minnesota that I watched. I read that, looked into that a little bit, read the Krebs article yesterday or today, did a little bit of searching. I didn't look at his social media and stuff, but I feel like I'm pretty up to speed with the timeline from a high level.
Yeah. Well, when I saw the Krebs thing, I was like, oh shit. I mean, this, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me when I was a kid, I was an only child. My dad was very strict, and my father, I would lie. And my dad probably knew I was lying, but he would give me more rope, to hang myself. And I just had this in my mind. The lie that I told myself was that if I stuck with the lie and I just stuck to my story, they're never actually going to find out the real truth. And so and what you actually end up doing is you end up digging yourself deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. The truth always come out.
Start to believe it too, though. Like you
right.
Get that far.
Yeah. And then the truth does come out. And the consequences are typically like many times worse than if I would have just come clean at the beginning. This reminds me of that because when you look at, I'm personally convinced that he lied. There's just too much circumstantial evidence to say otherwise. And so he's been lying then for a long time, and every challenge he just keeps perpetuating the lie, and it keeps getting deeper and deeper. What started out as, if you would have, it was a Perkins Coie case where the attorney specifically was drilling into Lanterman's past and it was a great line of questioning, all in court, all public, and he just kept digging and digging. If you would have just come clean right there, he might still be, at Hennepin County, working for Hennepin County. He might still be in control of his company. He's stepped down at Computer Forensic Services. He's no longer
forced him to step down.
Right. Wouldn't have an FBI investigation, so it went from like this case. If you just would have cleaned up there, it wouldn't have gone and affected your business. It wouldn't have gone into the public news. It wouldn't have then gone into the national news. It wouldn't have been an FBI case. It's like, you're digging, man. You just keep digging. When are you going to stop? Because I don't know.
It's like he...
was it worth it?
It's like, because what I'm seeing or thinking, he is portraying this computer forensics expert, and he feels like he's covered up that whole forensic piece so you can't find it. But it's there. Like it always is. Like in part of the story that I saw, he ended up going back to the school, and he checked out his transcript and then never returned it. So that's why
that wasn't school. That was a job.
Oh, oh yeah, the
That
job
was,
history. That's right.
yeah, there is no
Yeah.
transcript. That's a problem. So in his bio, and they call it whatever, the CV, something. It's Latin. Why do
Your work
lawyers do
history.
that shit? Why can't you just, like, it's 2025. Like, let's just speak English.
English.
Yeah, curriculum vitae, resume. I don't know. We'll just call it CV. So in his CV, which is common, right? I've worked on legal cases, and they want to know your background, right? If they're going to put you in court, it's usually adversarial, right? There's one side and another side, this side against that side. Now, if I'm going to attack that side, right, I'm going to look for all your weaknesses on what I can attack, where I can break things down. And so if you're bringing in an expert witness, I want to tear that apart.
Sean Harrington is in the chat, actually.
Sean Harrington's in the chat?
I don't know if it's the Sean
The
Harrington.
real Sean Harrington? I don't know. We're going to need to see his CV, I think. And then we're going to have to validate the damn CV, I guess.
Yeah, that's the internet, right?
Here's the cool thing about my CV. If I had a CV, I guess I have a bio. I don't know. Is that the same? Maybe. It's not Latin. It's bio. Is that Latin? That might be Latin. Anyway, my bio.
So,
yeah, I have a bio.
Sorry.
So
Sean
I don't.
says that if he would have confessed earlier, he would have been admitting to committing perjury for 20 years. So.
Okay, but either commit to it now or keep digging and be found.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, a lie is a lie, and it doesn't go away. Sticking to a lie doesn't make it not a lie. It's still a fucking lie, and the consequences get worse. And I don't know about the court of law stuff, but I know in life it does. I've lied to my wife before and stuck to my damn lie and paid a much deeper price for it. Lied to friends, done the same thing. It's just, that's how lies work. But here's the thing about my bio CV. The college degree ain't even on there because I majored in geology.
Yep.
Nobody's impressed with that. And you know why I got into geology, Matt?
We talked about it. Wasn't it about partying?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was 65, 70 pounds ago. I was a 2-time state champion swimmer from Minnetonka High School in 87 and 88. So I went to the University of Minnesota.
On your CV.
No, it's not. No, nobody's going to believe it. And then I got to go find all that shit. My wife has seen it. My wife actually has one of my swimsuits from back in that day.
Oh, I don't need to know those stories. Keep those.
No, I know. And that's not relevant either. But the relevance here is if you're going to publicly state something about yourself, you better be able to back it up. That's really important for credibility. You don't see that on my bio because it's not relevant to my job. And that's why I like transparency. Whenever I'm transparent, I disarm you. You can't use something about me that I've already told you about me. I mean, there's so much value in being transparent. So my degree was in geology, and the reason why it was geology was because if I didn't declare a major, I was going to lose my scholarship. And I was like, well, what are my options? And they said, well, it's going to have to be something pretty general. I'm like, all right, because I didn't take any specialized classes or anything. And so my advisor gave me a list of majors, and I went back to my buddies, and I'm like, hey, help me pick one. And one of them said, I got a friend who's in geology. You know what they do on their field studies? No, what do they do, man? He's like, they dig rocks all day and they party all night. They drink all night. I'm like, geology it is. So it's not something to be proud of. It's probably not something that's going to make you look good in a court of law, I assume. But anyway, so I've been most of the cases that I worked on never actually went to trial. I mean, it was like you just do, but I don't even know what the lawyers do with it. You do your work and you give them things, you give them your opinions, they take it and they do what they do with it. They don't have to tell me what they do with it. They just do what they do with it.
So do you find it interesting that he claims to have been in so many trials when you've mostly seen them not go to trial?
Well, he works a different place, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough to call BS on that or not. I mean, I'd have to do research on it, and I honestly don't have the time really. He worked with criminal cases. I mean, the criminal cases I worked on were typically related to theft of intellectual property, trade secrets, or trade secrets, as far as I understand. Again, not a lawyer, but what I heard the lawyers say is that if you don't protect it like it's a trade secret, you can't claim it's a trade secret. So
seems logical to me.
And these were Chinese. In both of those cases, it was Chinese nationals that worked for some high-tech company organization. I won't give you details. And then they just, you go through everything, and then, lawyers are asking you questions about what your interpretation is of what you saw. In your opinion, Evan, would this be what you see in other places is protection, adequate protection of, trade secrets, stuff like that. I mean, it was the last thing I want to do is tell a lawyer how to do their job. They know what they're looking for. They know the case that they're building. I just play my role and move on to the next thing. It also keeps me out of trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. I have had enough trouble in my life. So anyway, Mark Lanterman claimed, I mean, as far as I understand from what I've read, publicly and what Sean Harrington has put, on LinkedIn and other places, is he claimed that he had a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in computer science from this college called Uppsala College in New Jersey. And I don't know, something like 83 to 89, something like that. And that's one, for all intents and purposes, it seems as though that's a lie, because nobody can find any evidence whatsoever that he actually attended there. There's no transcripts. Uppsala, I think, went belly up. They went bankrupt after like 100 years or something like that. But usually when that happens, when a school, it's not like they just destroy all your records, right? They transfer them to some other school.
Record retention requirements.
Right. So, they were transferred allegedly to one or more other schools. The lawyers went to the other schools and looked for the records there. There is no record. There's no transcript. There's no record that he graduated. There's nothing in any of the graduation, like, when you do a graduation ceremony, there's like a list of people that are graduating. There's nothing there. He was questioned on, did you have any friends? Can anybody else corroborate that you were there? Yeah, he says, well, I wasn't very social and I had limited resources. Yeah. But then in that Perkins Coie, testimony or whatever, they asked, well, who are your grandparents? He wouldn't share. Where did they live? He wouldn't share. Now, put yourself in the situation. I'm thinking myself, like, okay, I have this college degree and nobody's believing me. I'd be like, I'd give you everything you can to help me find that damn thing so I don't have to deal with this anymore.
Right, just get me out of here.
So I don't understand the logic in trying to be sort of defensive about it and to be obstructionist. It doesn't make any sense. Right? I mean, the circumstantial evidence it really seems to point to the fact that you don't have this thing. You never had this thing. And I think Sean Harrington found out something else about, there was a record at the University of Minnesota that he had attended something there in 1986.
Like one semester.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 83 to 89, you're out in Uppsala College in New Jersey. What are you doing here in 86 for this semester? I don't know. Things don't seem to add up to me. And when you're dealing, and I think Lanterman is dealt with criminal cases, like the burden of proof on a criminal case, right, is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Well, there's some flippant doubt in the witness testimony for sure. I don't know what effect that has on the case. That's not for me to interpret, but that's one of the problems. Because me as just a security guy, listeners who are just security people who lie on their resume, you may think, well, that's not that big a deal. maybe it's not. But what happens if you find yourself in a place like a court of law, where lawyers use a bunch of big words and long books and shit to prove their point, and you can't stand on it? You don't know where you're going to end up, man.
Mr. Harrington here says,
is this really Sean Harrington? Because if he is, he should get in contact with us, because I'd love to have his discussion about this. I'd love to hear it.
He's talking about the stuff. I mean, I don't know.
We should have him on next week, and
he hasn't acknowledged,
because he is a lawyer,
calling him by that, but he's bringing up stuff about the stuff. So I wanted to point out, like, you were talking about the stuff.
It's metadata.
In the New Jersey case, he said he doesn't have the diplomas because he didn't pay the fees.
That's what he claims. Or that's not even what he claims. That's one of the explanations that the registrar of this other school gave them as a possible reason for it. Okay, but there's got to be some record somewhere.
Right.
I mean, think about this, man. Do you have a college degree?
I do. It's on the wall right here.
That's what most people do with it.
Yeah, they frame it and they put it somewhere because you're proud.
It's something to be proud of. You just spent a shitload of money, a shitload of time studying.
So Sean Harrington says, yes, it's me. I did a 1-hour podcast last week. Yeah, dude, we'd love to have you on next week.
Yeah. Let's see if he can come on next week, because I would love to hear his opinion on this stuff. And it certainly adds credibility to our podcast, because he is a lawyer. He is, if we're taking,
yep.
Because that's one of the things I want us to talk about, before we end this episode is, what could we have done better? There's lots of times I know when people just take my word for shit. I tell you that I've got, I don't know what year it is now, 2025.
2025.
So 33-ish. It's hard to remember exactly the day I started. My first job in this industry was cleaning boot sector viruses off of Windows 3 machines for IBM. To the best of my recollection, that would have been 93, maybe. Anyway, I could figure it out. I'm sure IBM has personnel records. We can go ask them. But actually, it wasn't even IBM. I was a contractor. Who the hell was the name of that company? Anyway, so, you have these things, in your history, and because one of the things we do in this industry, Matt, how often do we see people embellish their credentials, their stories?
Constantly.
There's such a push, and
they repeat the same stories over and over and over. You go out networking or dinners, and all they do is talk about the same things over and over.
Well, we embellish. I think, one, there's a lot of imposter syndrome in this industry. Two, there's a lot of ego in this industry. We're all trying to sell ourselves, right? The more of an expert you think I am, do you think I can make more money then?
Absolutely. Do
you think I'm going to get hired?
You will fast track over other people, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and I've said this, talk about repeating stories. 3 things you need to be a great security person. Number 1, intangibles. That's the shit I can't teach you, right? That's integrity, dependability, especially in this industry. The second thing you need to have, education. Lots of ways to get education. You don't have to go get a college degree. There's Udemy, there's books, there's seminars, there's almost an infinite number of ways to get education. The third thing, and you can't rush this one, it's experience. What have you done? Can you do it again? Are you good at it? So
apparently you should be friends with this Sean Harrington. He worked at
IBM. We're going to hang out. We'll hang out after this. He was at IBM?
Yeah, 1997, 2000.
My mom was an executive at IBM. She started with Tivoli, and then Tivoli IBM acquired Tivoli. IBM was always big into like nepotism, I think. So they like to hire family people. The problem with me was I I am a troublemaker. Yeah. So I got fired from that job. And then I went to a consulting company, then ended up at Jask Software. Anyway, there's a whole story there. All right. So Lanterman.
So do you think this damages our image as an industry?
I hope not. I don't think it should. I think every single one of us should be able to stand up to scrutiny. Stop with the blind trust.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just because I say that I'm this or I'm that, do you actually know any of that? It's so damn easy to take advantage of people that aren't situationally aware. They don't do their homework. They're lazy. You know, because I think in this particular instance, I mean, he's been doing this for what, 30 something years? He claims 30-year career, testified in more than 2,000 cases.
Apparently, so if he did
nobody validate
cases,
this until now?
Sean says if he did 2,000 cases, that's 2.5 cases per week.
Yeah, no, it's exactly. And the reason why I didn't even bring that up is because that's a whole nother thing, right? And the things with like this stuff, there's like so many rabbit holes you can go down.
Like, you only need to focus on like the credential piece, right? Because that just breaks everything else down.
Well, yeah, I always look at these things like when I argue with people, like it's like a card game. I play the cards I need to play when I need to play them, you know? And so if we played those cards and it turns out that you won that hand, well, then I'll play, you know, maybe the 2,000 cases card. You know, I mean, the thing is when you lie in something, it calls fucking everything into question, in my opinion. Integrity is integrity, you know? And it's not like you expect people to never lie. We all lie. But what I do expect is somebody with integrity, when they're caught in a lie, they come clean, accept the consequences, and move forward. That's what conviction is. You know, you come out being a better person for it. Because I've made a shitload of mistakes, man. And all those things, I think when you approach them the right way, they end up being wisdom, you know? And that's why I think you can talk about things like this and not feel unqualified to give an opinion. I certainly don't have a legal opinion. Again, not a lawyer, can't do that. But my personal opinion is what he did is he purposely chose Uppsala College, knowing that they were no longer there. So it'd make it difficult for people to validate, right? And they would maybe inquire a little bit, but man, that's more work. I got a whole shitload of shit to do. We're just going to take his word for it. And then when you do go and find some questions about it, because that's what I would do. If I was going to fake my credentials, I wouldn't say Harvard. Like that's a whole nother thing coming up. It's, by the way, I wouldn't say University of Minnesota. I wouldn't say any other school that's actively here with a registrar, because all you got to do is make one phone call and get the records. Yep. I would choose a school that's not there anymore. And I think that's why he survived as long as he did with this sort of false persona.
Do you think hiring practices had anything to do with it? So I imagine back then hiring practices weren't as efficient as they are now. And once you reach a certain point of credibility, you basically just like stop looking, right?
I don't know. I think anything you're going to claim
should always
publicly or in court has to be the truth, you know, especially if you have people who are dependent on it. You know, at FR Secure, you know, I've got 2 companies that are dependent on me being it's okay for me to be an asshole, but I can't lack integrity. You know what I mean? I can't go out there and start saying things that are blatant lies, because they're all going to suffer for it. So
you're responsible for people and their lives, and you take that serious.
Yeah. And same with this guy, right? Mark Lanterman, these are people's lives. You know, in a criminal case, you have, you know, somebody's going to pay, you know, incarceration, you know, jail time, some reduction of some rights somewhere, right? Loss of money, civil cases. If our company had, was at fault in a civil case, I mean, you may have to pay out millions of dollars. Well, that's millions of dollars I can't use to grow my business, pay benefits, throw company parties, everybody suffers if I make shitty choices like that. So, and that's why I say it all the time too, man, because I need people like you. I need people like my friends. I need people like my wife, my leadership team to hold me accountable. There was a lot, the only blatant lie of commission that I remember telling, because it was a wisdom thing, to my leadership team was we were coming back from Bulgaria. We had a development team there and we visited them, kind of morale building exercise. And we were coming back and we had a layover in Germany. And we were sitting having lunch, during the layover. And somehow the conversation turned to if any of us had been to South America, right? Not Central America, it's like South America. That's like below Panama part, right? And they were sharing stories. And so, Evan, have you ever been to South America? And I was like, yeah. Truth be told, I hadn't. I was like, yeah, I've been to South America. Like, oh, where? And I was like, Brazil, Argentina. I just made some shit up. I had no idea. Oh, that's cool. And then the conversation just continued, right? But I was sitting there the whole rest. Yeah, I wanted to be part of the group. I think that's another thing that might happen for security people. You have to fight that everybody else has this thing. I need this thing if I want to succeed in this industry. No, you don't need that thing. That's a fucking lie.
Happens all the time with tools. Like, oh, I got this tool, I got this thing. It's like the coolest thing. Like, yo, I don't give a shit.
Right. So we finished our lunch and then started walking, and we were going down the escalator. And I was like, and there was two guys. It was John Harmon, who's actually here with me in Mexico right now.
Nice.
And
you guys go diving yet?
No, it's too cold. I don't want to dive when it's cold. I'm a Mexican now. I told you that. So we're going down the escalator, and I was like, oh, guys, because it was bugging me the whole time. I'm like, I got to come clean. And they're like, what? I go, I've never been to South America. And they're like, okay, so what? I'm like, well, I fucking told you I'd been to South America. Okay. And that was it. I love using that as a story because it was in a moment of maybe 30 minutes. I recognized I lied. I owned it and I came clean. Consequences. And I don't know what you never know where life's going to weave, right? There could have been, they could have had a business conversation later, and they're like, oh, Evan's been to Argentina before. Let's get him involved. And you just don't know where it's going to dig. But if you put an end to it right away, it's a dead story. And that's, anyway, sadly, I don't think that's what happened here with Mark Lanterman. So 2,000 cases. Yeah, that's a hell of a lot of cases. Hard to probably justify that. And all, really interesting shit. Upside College, 102 years, closed in 95.
I saw something interesting on Krebs's article. One of the comments, people were talking about, I didn't fact check it, probably should have, but they're talking about how he's claiming he was part of the Biden laptop investigation.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right?
You can claim anything.
Just look at your life, though, Matt. Do we not all struggle from time to time with being relevant, with being important?
Yeah.
So sometimes I think this stuff can just get away from people. I want you to like me. I find my value in what people think of me. And if you think I'm this super awesome expert who's taught thousands of judges across the world on forensic shit, and I've got all this education. I did my postgraduate studies, quote unquote, at Harvard. Well, that's not really what he did. You could define, you could really loosely define graduate studies to include like you watched a video, you like studied it. But that's not what most people think when you hear graduate studies. Well, if I told you I had graduate studies at Harvard, Matt, what would you think I was telling you?
That your trust fund baby.
Trust fund baby. But would it not seem like I am borrowing from Harvard's credibility that I have actually?
It's a prestigious school.
Yeah. And he took like some 8-week online class that I would never classify as postgraduate studies.
So I'm trying to convince Mr. Harrington here to join us next week because he is saying that we're missing the real story.
What's the real story?
Yeah, I think he's typing it right now because there's like a colon.
Well, hopefully he's a fast typer. I wonder if he took typing classes in his college.
He says the other stuff besides lying about this is more shocking. But like you said, Sean's been, looking at him for more than a year, so he's probably got a lot of cool stuff. So, sorry, I keep derailing you.
No, dude. Well, the sad thing here is you're playing with people's lives, right? There's a reason why perjury is illegal. There's a reason why saying something in court under oath that's not true is illegal, right? Because people suffer for it. Legal cases are sometimes won or lost based on what people say in court.
Oh,
and so all these. Oh, you got more? You got some fascinating. Yes. Is this breaking news? Should we get like Dan Rather? Do you know Dan Rather?
We should put a banner on the thing. Breaking news. So this Dan I had not read, and this I did not hear. So it sounds like he was taking some of this threat intel, and he was blackmailing.
Oh yeah, I've read some of that too. Yeah,
to get their business. That's downright.
Yeah, those are some more rabbit holes. Yeah, I did read some of the stuff because I think Sean had posted that, made some of that available, and you can find some of that stuff just through OSINT, where holding your data for ransom, really, pay my fees, or I'm going to threaten to release this to public auction or to collections and public auction, whatever. Yeah, that's some nasty shit. Now, I've been in business at FR Secure. What year is it again? 2025?
2025.
So I started in 2008. So I guess that's 17 years. Shit, man, I am old. All right. So 2017, I don't know. I'm guessing, right? Don't hold me to this number. 1,500, 2,000 clients, maybe 130 employees, something like that. We have never, actually, most people pay us. I mean, our receivables are awesome. They've always been awesome. That's a whole nother thing. But if somebody didn't pay us, I would never hold your data for ransom to get you to pay me. And there's other ways you can go about that. Mm-hmm. You can negotiate. You can all right, the cost was too much, right? Ideally, I can't imagine going into a project and not outlining the cost up front. Like when I was on the Target case, they were negotiating how much to pay me. I say, well, what's your rate? And so I said, I think it was Stephen Gaskins. I can't remember. But that's public, though. You can go find it. Target Special Litigation Committee. They asked me how much I want to get paid. And I said, how much are you getting paid? They said $450 an hour. I go, that's my rate then.
Slick.
Yeah. So then, okay, it's negotiated. So then I just need to justify the number of hours I worked, right? And then it's like, you're going to pay me. It's not a big deal. I don't understand how.
That's not.
You never want to surprise a customer with a bill. That's stupid.
That's not just lying is one thing, but ethical, humane, violation. That's just a whole. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing.
Gross.
I mean, in our industry, one of the things that makes FR Secure, I think, is successful as it is our reputation. You know, I don't really represent the company nearly as much as I used to, right? I mean, we've grown the company. There's an executive leadership team. They don't need me anymore. I was just the founder guy, and they still give me money, which is cool. But, you know, so, you know, it's, but still, I mean, it's the reputation that's so important. With reputation, like a justifiable reputation, you can justify, is that the right word? Validate, whatever. That reputation, it does allow you to charge more money. You can be more selective on your clients, right? We have lots of clients. I mean, our close rate on most of our work is like 40%. And of the ones that don't close with us, usually it's because we're too expensive. You know, that's the value in doing this the right way. This other shit, I'm speechless about doing that shit. I don't understand. Do you expect to get more clients when you treat them like that? Do you expect repeat business from them on stuff like that? And it seems like the legal community is pretty tightly, I mean, they talk to each other, right? So I don't know. Yeah, that's crazy. So on the other thing, so, you know, we've got the college degrees in question. We've got, you know, the claims of 2,000 cases, this other stuff in question. We've got the postgraduate studies at Harvard in question, which, and I just see it here. It was Harvard X, which is like, it's an online cybersecurity class, 8 weeks. I mean, that's probably not, I've never done it, but I can't imagine it's much more. But it's not postgraduate studies.
No, those are usually.
When I think of postgraduate studies at Harvard, that means you enrolled at Harvard. Like you were there, like embedded. So you've got that. And then there's this weird kind of thing about, and you mentioned it a little bit, you know, he claimed that he worked at the Springfield Township Police Department after he had left college. Right. And this is where he, you know, this Perkins Coy, you know, was questioning about this and whatever. He calls or emails or whatever, contacts the Springfield Township Police Department, asks if he can come see his personnel file, flies there, visits, takes the computer, whatever media that personnel file was on, and then never returned it. Mm-hmm. Who does that? And how can you do that? Can I do that? I'm going to go to IBM and do that. That way you won't know I got fired from IBM.
I mean, maybe he was thinking like, let me just try and see if it works. And it worked. And he's like, well.
But does it not look like cover up to you? Oh,
totally.
And that's the thing. I mean, whether this is criminal or not, right? The criminal burden of proof is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. There's that. Then there's the
hey, let me ask you
perception thing. Yeah. What you got?
How much does it cost to store digital evidence?
That's not specific enough for me to give you a good answer.
Like just storing data.
How much?
Isn't expensive.
Storing data?
Yeah.
Forensically?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you need to maintain, you know, checksums. You need to make sure that that data is safe, that it hasn't been modified in transit, at rest. There's a chain of custody. I mean, it's more expensive than just saving data.
Okay. Well, just found that this dude, Lanterman, sued one of his clients for $775,000 because he had to store their data during their case.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, suing people, that one's the preponderance of evidence thing, right? I mean, tip the scales. There's no burden of proof isn't proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Again, not a lawyer. I just have been around too many of them. I don't think I have a lawyer who's a friend. It seems like the only time you can ever get like good information from, you got to like feed them or give him money or something. I got billed. My wife, we were standing in line in Waconia, Minnesota. That's where I lived before I lived here in Mexico. And I can't remember what my wife had engaged a lawyer, but she had a lawyer friend, just a friend who was a lawyer. And they were standing in line at the coffee shop. This was Mocha Monkey in Waconia. And they were just having a discussion. And then it was like 2 weeks later, we got a bill from the law firm.
Oh, because you had a chat? That's skeezy.
I mean, they immediately, I think what it was probably because I think lawyers probably have to, I mean, I don't know, a lot of lawyers work hourly or something. So they have to account for all their hours probably somewhere. And then they submit that to, an assistant or somebody who then goes and bills people for it. And I think we just got caught in that mix, but it was funny. It was like, that didn't help your reputation much in the legal profession. She was just talking to her about how are the kids? Oh, the kids are good. I'm gonna send you a bill. So he claimed Martha Stewart investigation, Bernie Madoff trial. Bernie Madoff's dead now. Paul McCartney's divorce, Tom Petter's investigation. Do you remember Tom Petter's?
Mm-mm.
Petter's Warehouse. He's also, I think, Sun Country Airlines and some other stuff. The big pyramid scheme thing.
$2
bad.
billion.
Out of Minnesota. Yeah, that was bad. I think he's still in prison. Denny Hecker investigation. Denny Hecker investigation. Those two are primarily, Twin Cities, Minnesota stuff. Denny Hecker had a whole automobile conglomerate. He got screwed over for fraud shit. Yeah. Anyway, so, okay, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, right? I like giving people the benefit of the doubt because it makes life less shitty all the time, right? So let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say he did get his college degrees from Uppsala. Let's say he did. We can loosely define this Harvard X thing as postgraduate studies. I just used the wrong words. Let's say he did do 2,000 cases. Let's say that he did have this, the transcripts from the employment record from Springfield Township Police Department says exactly what it's supposed to say. Let's say we got all of this wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So what?
What happens?
Damage is done. Isn't the damage done?
Right. Well,
and that's a lot of what ifs, is it not?
No, but I think
it's not a lot of what ifs.
No, it is a lot of what ifs, but what I'm going down the road of is the damage is done. But I think we're at a point where you get the right publicist or assistant, you can rebuild anything.
Maybe. I don't know. That's hard. It's hard.
Look at these massive companies like Equifax and stuff that are having breaches that are supposed to bankrupt companies, and they're able to their brands are still.
Well, that's because the court there is the court of public opinion.
This is actual federal.
This is court shit, and I can't imagine. Well, okay, that was a lot of what ifs. So I think, what are the chances that all those what ifs are true?
The more you stack on, the harder it is to pile it all together.
Yeah, it just doesn't look good. I don't know how, and this may never be prosecuted in court. There may not be a criminal thing through it, whatever. But the court of public opinion seems to have already made its case. And Lanterman has stepped down from CFS. I can't imagine he's going to be doing many more. He's not going to do the 2001st case. I'm guessing, which is sad, honestly. I mean, we all need to make a living, right? We all have bills to pay. We all have mouths to feed. To put 30 years into a career, building a business is hard work, right? Computer forensic services, a lot of work. To do all that stuff and to have it all unravel. Because, a number of different things, right? It's sad. I
It's
mean,
like
it's, a part of me feels sad for him.
it's like ripping your life apart.
It's a lot of work, man. I mean, it'd be like I mean, empathy is a big thing. You know, when you can try to put yourself into the shoes of somebody else, it's like, I can't imagine what it would feel. I mean, I guess I haven't been lying
And he
about that
could
shit, but
he could legitimately have the skills and be good at what he's doing. He just is not going about it right. So it probably would hurt even more, right?
yeah. I mean, people hired me for my work and I have a geology degree and I was fired from IBM. I've done no Harvard postgraduate studies. I have no interest in doing Harvard postgraduate studies. Most of my things have come from experience. You know, most of my things have come from self-taught, self-learning, breaking things. The best way to learn how something works is break it and put it back together again. You know, and there really aren't, like, I wouldn't even put any stock into a college degree from most of the universities in computer science. They're kind of,
No. They're off track right now.
there's some that are, I think, fairly good, but there are many that are just like, you just wasted a shitload of money on that. So anyway,
Sean
so let's talk
says
about,
he should invest in a dentist because he thinks he's going to get prosecuted and BOP doesn't fix teeth. They pull them.
oh, he thinks Lanterman's going to be prosecuted.
Yeah. And he should get dental work now.
We'll keep an eye on it, you know, for sure. I've been to jail. Yay. Something to be proud of. But that'd be another thing. I mean, and the legal stuff that I've done, they've asked me these questions, you know what I mean? And you tell them the truth. You know, have you been to jail? Yes, I have. For what? I was a big drinker for a number of years and I stopped drinking in 2001. So you'll see
2022.
Yeah, you'll see drinking things like DWIs and, you know, shit like that. I would, again, the power of transparency is now it's disarmed. You can't use it against me. You know what I mean? Because I told you all these things, and if you decide to not do things with me because of that, so be it. We can go our separate ways. But for you to come back later and say, you never told me that you did da-da-da-da-da, I did, you know? So let's talk about what we can do. All right. I mean, we can rip on other people all day long. That's easy to do. I mean, shit, just go on social media. It's what you find all the damn time. What am I going to do? What are you going to do? What are the listeners going to do so that we don't fall for the same trap, that we don't end up in the same place? Because there's a lot of pressure, especially in this industry. I've talked to a lot of people that are trying to get jobs in this industry or switching jobs. The job we had an episode, 5-6 episodes where we talked about how the labor market in cybersecurity is a shit show. Again, opinion. And that's because really good people that I think are really good at their jobs are having trouble finding the job. So what happens, you know, when you apply for a job, you're selling yourself, aren't you?
Yep.
I create an ad, which is my resume. This is my ad, advertising my skills, advertising how great of a product I am for your company, for you to get value from me. So the better my ad looks, the better the chances are that you're going to buy. Right? And you have to get over that hurdle of the gatekeeper bullshit and blah, blah, blah. And then you're going to talk to people. And then you're going to have this interview and you're going to have to sell yourself there too. I can do this. I can do that. I've been here. I've been there. This is how I provide value to your company. This is why it's a no-brainer for you to hire me. And then you get the job. You don't think there's like a, what's the word? Help me out, Matt.
Say again your last over.
I don't remember what the hell I was saying. Like when I'm words, where are you? When I'm not a tendency, but not an urge, but I have to sell myself to you. So there's like a
desire or
desire, maybe sort of.
expectation.
Anyway, but it would be really easy for me to embellish a few things, wouldn't it?
Exacerbate.
I don't know. I'm done with that word now. I gave up.
I'm sorry.
But
I'm
let's
trying to read Mr. Harrington.
yeah, I mean, it's like we're not having a conversation anymore, Matt. I thought maybe you and I could do this show together.
All right, I'm focused.
No, it's good that you're paying attention to Sean Harrington too, because he has a very valid perspective. I think that's very worthy of consideration.
Keeps not wanting to commit to talking to us, so
that's fine. That's his prerogative. He doesn't have to do that.
It's all about.
We will always doubt. We will always question whether or not he's actually Sean Harrington. Then,
yes.
I mean, that's kind of what comes with it, right?
I'll agree with you.
All right. So, is there a temptation? That was the word. Temptation. Is there a temptation for me to embellish my resume, my background, to try to get a job, especially if I've been unemployed for a year and I'm frustrated as shit. I've sent out 1,000 resumes in the last year and nobody's hiring me. Do you think there's a temptation to embellish? I mean, that's not what happened here. I'm not saying that. But as I'm trying to take this,
about growing real and Yep.
Yeah, I'm talking to like, we can't do that.
Yeah.
It's better for you to never work in this industry than it is for you to embellish and say things that aren't true and get a job in this industry. That's what I'm saying.
I think social media even makes it easier now because you have influencers and everyone's trying to get the followers and the one-uppers and the things. And I think that contributes to brain alteration, thought processing, and it can send you into that space without you wanting to be there. And then you're just in it. Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because anytime you embellish, you're pushing the boundaries of the truth. How hard is it for you to cross over that boundary? What are you smiling about, Matt? I can't even see your damn face anymore on the screen.
I'm gonna move over here. All right. I'm having a chat with him.
That's fine. Have a chat, get all personal, and, seek a date later.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, I was wondering why you weren't married and why I don't see any women.
Now we know, right?
I'm not saying I know. I'm just saying I was wondering. Yeah. No, I love you, man. You know that. Not that kind of love. The straight brotherly sort of love. Yeah.
Thing with the things.
Yeah. So
I also would think it's easier when you're early on in your career, when you can't I don't know, maybe if you're trying to break in, as they say, you want to try and it's always, make yourself, sound better than you are. But if you are credentialed and you are running into those problems, I could see wanting to fucking help me,
Well, I see a lot of people do it. I see a lot of people, claim that they've done this, they've done that. And maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but it sure seems like it's embellishment. When I talk to you about some of the things, in person about, your career, I mean, there's so much value in the 30 some odd years, 35 years. You get comfortable in your own skin, right? And I think if you're trying to get a job in this industry and you can't get a job in this industry, instead of embellishing, which again, you're pushing the boundary of lie. You're compromising your integrity. Rather than do that, why don't you find the things that people desire in the product you're trying to sell and go get those things? Right? If you need, if they're asking for practical hands-on experience with XYZ technology, well, then go get some practical experience with XYZ technology. Think out of the box, market yourself, start a GitHub, repository, and put your projects there to demonstrate the things that you can do for people. At the end of the day, that's what most people are wanting to hire is, do you provide value to my company? versus the cost, for the value. All right. I like to take the people part out of this as much as you can, where you've got a product and you've got a consumer. The company that, is hiring talent is the consumer. You're the product. Be the product that they want to buy.
You could also be willing to accept something that's not what you want.
What I want? Oh, you mean
Like
compromise a little bit on your expectations?
Yeah, if you're like trying to be, a tier 3 analyst or something, maybe just get a job being level
Tier
1
1.
or
Work
whatever.
to a tier 2. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're really that worried about money, like you'll figure it out that way
Right.
versus just being online complaining about it.
There's that. I mean, there's, you've seen it. I mean, there's this general sense of sort of entitlement, I think seems like it's more so. I don't know if it's just because I'm older now than it used to be, where, you have to put in the work. It's a lot of work. You know what I mean? I don't work as hard as I used to, but there were, 20 of those 30 some odd years where my wife says that I worked an average of 108 hours a week. That was a lot of work. You know what I mean? There was no shortcuts in getting to where you got to get to from a purchaser standpoint. So if you're the product, right? So I want you to hire me to work on this cool ass criminal case because I'm awesome and I'm better than the other awesomes. Make sure you can back it up. And if nobody's hiring you, find out why nobody's hiring you and go get more awesomeness on yourself. Legitimate awesomeness. And that means you actually have to go to Harvard, which I doubt that would be the case, because I've never seen an attorney looking for somebody specifically that has postgraduate studies from Harvard University to serve as an expert witness. Maybe, but I don't know. But sell yourself genuine, right? Then you don't have to worry about what people think and what people say, because it's all true. You know what I mean? So if you're the product, that's important. If you're the consumer, if you're the one buying the product, buyer beware. You need to validate this stuff. I don't understand how he could have worked on as many cases as he did, whether it was 2,000 or it was 20. I have no idea. But how did you work on so many cases and nobody, 30 years? And now this is called into question. I mean, it might have been called into question before, but now it's where we're at. It took that long. That's crazy. I mean, is it sloppy legal work? I don't know. I wasn't there, but it just seems like, how would we not have caught this earlier on? How much time have we wasted? How many legal cases are going to be appealed because of this? I have no idea.
Are impacted.
Right. Because one, the product wasn't what it claimed to be. So the product itself was faulty, but also the consumer has to have some liability in this, I would think. Why didn't you validate this shit? Especially in legal stuff. I mean, if you're just a consultant and you're consulting on cybersecurity advice, and you're a junior kind of, consultant, and you're portraying yourself as a junior consultant, at least that's a different animal. But I mean, that's the thing in our industry. In information security, people suffer when we get shit wrong. They suffer. Whether you misspend information security dollars on controls that don't actually work, that aren't your most significant risk, or you weren't watching the front door and there was a breach that you should have prevented, people suffer for all this shit. We talked about that, I think a couple of weeks ago when we talked about accountability. So stop worshiping credentials. And we're starting the CISSP mentor program next week-ish, 2 weeks. I don't know what date it is. In 2 weeks. And there's a slide that I put together because I do the introduction piece. There's a big slide or a big red banner that says, The CISSP is a fantastic accomplishment, right? You should be proud of that. But all that it means is that you're a CISSP. It does not mean you're good at this. It just doesn't. It means that at one point in time, you had enough knowledge to pass an exam. It also means that you had 5 years, allegedly, of validated experience in 25% of the material, 2 of the 8 domains. It doesn't make you an expert.
Right. You're not gonna be an expert on everything.
Choose a part, maybe to be an expert. Yeah. So what the buyers need to do, stop worshiping credentials. Stop being impressed by shit.
Mm-hmm.
Can they do what I need them to do? Whatever that is.
Don't go cert chasing like we talked about.
Yeah. Ask harder questions. Challenge. The best way, I've shared with you my own social engineering experience. Take me out of my pretext. If I am falsely claiming to be somebody that I'm not, and the same thing works if you're on a phone call and somebody's trying to, scam you out of money, you run into a social engineer on the street, keep asking questions. Eventually they run out of the pretext and then you got it. So keep asking questions. Anybody who's truly an expert doesn't mind answering questions. We all love talking about the shit that we're experts about. Keep asking me questions. I'll stay up till 3:00 in the morning and talk to you about shit that I'm good at.
That's a true story.
Thank you. See, So ask harder questions. If you're on the buying side, keep asking harder questions. What are you going to offend them?
Oh my God. If you are trying to buy a product, absolutely, I would say smack them with questions like, I do not see enough of this.
And I'm expensive, man. I told you about the target rate. That was 2013, $450 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't cheap. You better be spending that money wisely. So ask harder questions. Normalize pushback. Normalize it.
Yeah, you shouldn't
push
feel
back.
bad. You shouldn't feel bad about asking questions.
Mm-mm. If they get defensive about the pushback,
that says
especially like proving your expertise. Well, there is a time when it's like, all right, now you're wasting my time. I mean, that's enough pushback. Just make a decision. If you want to move on, move on. I'm not desperate for this. You're probably not desperate for this, but that's different than like, just getting defensive, like deflecting a lot. And I told you the 2 things that people like to do when they can't defend their point, they change the subject or they attack my character. So be on the lookout for those things. When you're doing the pushback, don't let them change the subject. I was talking about this. Answer this. It's a yes/no question. People like to play politics. You ask them a yes/no question, then they give you this long thing. You never answered my fucking question. So normalize pushback. Hold people accountable. That's super important. You know what I mean? If you're supposed to do this, flip and do this. Reputation in this industry, if you invest in it, and the only way to invest in it is to be a person or a team or a company with integrity, if you invest in it, this honest way of doing business, it pays dividends. I mean, like way more than it would have paid the other way. And then us, as cybersecurity professionals, we need to clean this up. We need to clean up our industry. We need to make it comfortable for people to be people in this industry. You don't have to be some, super bullshit, really, hacker, whatever you think you need to be whatever you need to be. Just be your damn self. You need to make it comfortable for people to be themselves. We posture so much in this industry. It drives me crazy. Oh, you did that? Well, I did this. No shit.
I hacked this. I hacked that.
Yeah. And I've had
accountability is what I think.
And I've had really good friends, and there still are good friends in this industry that we were sitting around, I guess, posturing. And then you're like, that's bullshit. Like, what do you mean that's bullshit? And they're like, what do you mean that's bullshit? You didn't do that. Well, sort of. That's not what you said, man. I mean, you got to call the bullshit when you call the bullshit, because the thing about posturing, not only does it reinforce the, I think, lack of integrity at times, it also makes people feel intimidated. Really good people that want to get into this industry don't want to be part of this industry because, well, they're all
So
like,
and so,
yeah, it's intimidating.
So and so's
It's
a
isolating.
Twitter influencer, and they did the thing. What am I ever going to be able to do?
Who gives a shit?
Just
I mean,
do you.
I didn't get into this industry for the number of followers. I didn't get into this industry for keynote speeches. I got in this industry to protect people. I got in this industry to serve people. I got into this industry to do things the right way. If you're in this industry for another reason, maybe you want to be in another industry.
We're not here to be safe. We're here to lead. And sometimes you have to be aggressive and call people out.
Called bullshit, man. I mean, seriously. Even if it's me, for anybody who does respect me, I suppose a lot of people do, whatever. If you hear me say bullshit, call my bullshit. I beg you.
Try to call Evan on his bullshit. You're going to end up walking 10 miles with him. What was it?
No, that was fun. We had a good time. That was fun.
It was sketchy as shit, but it was fun.
It was a lot of fun. We did it together.
Yes.
I didn't that was good.
I didn't believe you, but I learned real quick.
Well, and use the same things that I just mentioned with me. They work. If you hear me claim something that's just not true, share it with me. And the reason why I really appreciate that is we have blind spots. I don't see the world from your perspective. The only way I'm going to see that is if you share it with me, and it's just going to make me better. Right. So call the bullshit if there's bullshit. So anyway, the Lanterman story, obviously it ain't over. I don't know where it's going to end up, but there's lots of lessons here, I think, for all of us, which is the important thing. I can't control the courts. I can't control what happens or doesn't happen to Mark Lanterman or any of the people that are around that. But what I can control is how I process it, how I use it to better my career, better my life, and how the people that depend on me, how they can benefit from it from this too. That's how I look at this story. Matt, what do you think? I preach a lot, but you were busy, texting with your friends.
No, I think everything you said is spot on, especially the call to action. We have to keep ourselves accountable. Otherwise, I think, the Lanterman thing it's old, but it's new, right? Because it goes back.
Yeah.
But if we start like where people are now, the ability to do what he did is probably easier right now. I'm an influencer on LinkedIn. Don't ask me any questions because I'm a hacker. I'm a bug bounty guy. I can't tell you
Right.
about my bug bounties. You know what I'm saying? It's probably easier now.
Yeah, I've got 200,000 followers. Who the fuck are you to question me? Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you're a flat out fucking liar. We can go there. But, and I get why people feel intimidated to do that, right? Because you're opening up a Pandora's box. I've done it before on social media because I've never sought to be a social media influencer. But I lurk, and I've challenged, some big names in our industry with 40, 50, 100,000 followers. And yeah, they fire back, and all their followers fire back but none of them are staying relevant to the point I made. They're following back because they're fans of the person. Well, all right, enjoy yourself. I mean, it just doesn't matter. But because you take who's like, maybe who do you think is like the most famous person in our industry, Matt?
Well, I'm gonna ask a question. From what side?
Are you
talking researcher, business professional, hacker.
Just a name that if I mention it in information security circles, most people are going to be like, oh yeah, I know who that is.
One that jumps on me right now is probably Chris Roberts.
I think Kevin Mitnick puts him to shame. I
Yeah,
mean, he's dead now, but
yeah. So that's why that one probably doesn't come up as much, but yeah.
right. So Kevin Mitnick,
what's his name, Mister fucking McAfee.
Okay, well, McAfee's a little different because most of his fame came from shit he did outside of the industry, right? I mean, I think so. Let's go with Mitnick. So Kevin Mitnick, if I asked 10 random cybersecurity or information security people if they've ever heard of Kevin Mitnick, what would you guess? We should do a research project on this.
They'd probably say
What, 60%, 70% maybe? Yeah, there you go. Fanboy.
I was early on. I was.
So your gut would say maybe 70% would know who this guy is in our industry.
I'd probably say 80. Yeah.
80? Okay.
Yeah.
And we could do a research project sometime and actually figure it out ish. But okay, so let's say 10 everyday people not in our industry. How many of them have ever heard of Kevin Mitnick? What would you say?
0.5.
Yeah. So all of that fame and whatever else you were looking for within our industry in the world, it doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, it's like what we talked about earlier, like when we're influencers and we're on Twitter, on LinkedIn, who are we talking to? All of our followers are exactly like us. We're talking to ourselves.
Yeah. It's like you're a shepherd and you're just taking your little sheep and moving them where you want them to go, right?
Yeah, you're not actually branching out to try to reach what matters.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the true influencers in this industry are because that's the mission, right? The mission is to fix the broken industry for me. And so that requires a hell of a lot of influence, not for me, not for my name, but you build teams and processes that go out and do that, and they never know I was behind it. What are you getting now?
Dude, I have everything. Boom.
You're such a fanboy, dude. Industry. You're such a fanboy. No, but that's the part, right? You influence, because when I first said that, fix the broken industry, there was 2 people at First Secure. That was it. Well, how the hell are you going to do that? Well, now it's 130 people. And now with the CISSP mentor program, we've trained over 100,000, not trained, that's too loose, reached over 100,000 students in over 140 countries with free training. Just to set examples of, if you say we have a talent shortage problem, well, then let's get out there and do something about it. It's less crazy today than it was, and it's not because of me. You just lead it, but it's not because of my name. Most people don't know I ever did any of that shit. It's the team that does it, right? Because if I'm the one that does it, well, then you're not going to focus on me. That's not the fucking point. The point is for us to get our shit together.
If we were focusing on you, it'd be a distraction.
Wouldn't that serve my ego nicely? Then I could go do keynotes all fucking week.
Yeah. Hey, you want to come talk at here next month?
Right. But I think that also can lead to that embellishment thing, right? Ego is a devil, man.
It snowballs. Yeah.
Because, I want to do more keynotes. I want to do more talks. I want to go to more legal cases, not to make a positive impact on the world, but for me.
I cannot imagine how exhausting it is to go from conference to conference to conference and like talking. I was at one for 2 days and I was smoked for the whole weekend.
Yeah. And I won't go to conferences because, even when you get asked to do talks, I don't want to do it. 1, it's not what I'm good at. 2, I think we're all human. It's really easy for me to fall for the ego trip too. So I don't want to do any of that shit. Plus I live in Mexico. Why the fuck do I want to go to the United States?
Yeah, that's true. We got to do that Mexicon.
The Mexican? Yeah, that'll be cool.
I'm all about that.
So anyway,
It'll be interesting to
it's a sad
see
story.
where this goes. I mean, I hope it doesn't. I mean, you never know. It could spin up like a whole thing where they start to look at everybody that's testified in any cases,
Good.
and we
They
start
should.
to like Sean's article here. He's got, I don't know, a handful of others listed alongside Lanterman in his expose here.
That's awesome, man. Maybe he's created himself a niche,
Maybe.
to
I mean,
go
he's
down
just
that path.
asking questions, just like we are, right? Just ask questions.
Yeah, I would. Part of me, I was talking. I mean, again, not a lawyer, so I don't know how the bar association really works and all that stuff. But it would be nice if there was like guidance on how to properly vet your expert witnesses when it comes to forensics and information security. Because I think a lot of lawyers that I've talked to over the years don't know shit about cybersecurity. They don't even know the right questions. Right. But they don't even know the right questions to ask to validate a lot of these things. So it'd be nice if there was some guidance so that it doesn't repeat itself, right? We don't have another Mark Lanterman. I mean, even if we have a bunch more already, great. But how do we stop that bleeding so we don't have any more in the future? Or at least reduce the chances of them, I don't know. We'll have to see. That's for lawyers to do. I just do what I do.
Apparently there is guidance, he says.
Well, then maybe they should follow it or do it better.
How do we publicize it? Or American Academy of Forensic Science. I'll have to look this up. Apparently that's the guidance.
There's got to be some way to fix this.
The process.
So it doesn't go 30 years. 30 years for this shit. What a waste of time.
I mean,
money. Lawyers aren't
other
cheap.
It's all the other people. Like, if someone is in jail,
they should do a Netflix documentary on this.
That'd be pretty cool.
Fuck yeah, man! I'd watch that. I don't watch TV, but my wife could tell. My wife could tell me about it.
There's probably all kinds of people that want that ego boost to be interviewed for that.
Please, I could wear a bow tie. I'll wear a bow tie. Hey,
tomorrow, and a little hat.
I have to get going because tomorrow I got a taxi picking me up at 3:30 in the morning.
Holy shit!
Taking me to the airport 6. I don't know what time boarding time is, but wife knows that. We're going on a vacation, so we got a whole bunch of people staying in our house that are going to watch the house for us and watch the dogs. We're going from Tampa to Grand Cayman to that's later. Costa Rica, Panama, and back. So the next episode, I'll be doing it from the cruise ship if I can figure out how to make the tech work. All right.
Sounds groovy.
That's it. Good episode. We'll see you next week. For people that, if that was, and I'm going to say if, because I got no proof, if that was truly Sean Harrington, that's awesome that he joined us tonight.
Yeah, really cool. He joined us. Feel free to contact us. Did you make an email address yet?
No, because I'm not
comment
reliable.
on Evan's blog or look us up on LinkedIn and let's see it. He says he's busy, but whenever you have time, we will make time because we are really interested in this topic.
Well, and as you know, as we start to get our shit together, I mean, this is like a community thing, right? We start to get our shit together when somebody helps us. When somebody helps us get our shit together more, right? Well, it's usually the podcast afterwards that I think people listen to.
The numbers reflect that more. I think it's the thing, but
all right, man. Good episode. We'll talk next week. And reminder for listeners, go to that that house link that we shared earlier. I think it's super. It just reinforces what we were talking about last week, and it's current. It was Tuesday, I think. Today's Thursday. The Google, a continued pattern of government surveillance of U.S. citizens.
The link is in the chat. If you guys need help finding it, I will be watching it, and we will talk about it next time. Thank you guys all for listening.
Have a good night. take care, be safe, whatever. Just do
Don't
it.
forget to hydrate.
There you go, man.
Okay.
Do you think that
like
really was Sean Harrington?
half the time it